this plan could be concluded. In fact, don't forget that it was the DEA agents who suggested the restaurant hit. It was not Arbib Sar, the Iranian-American guy.
Well, look,
he was induced to do something that the FBI and the DEA wanted him to do. So once again, another patsy. So
another patsy. You've nailed it. That's the pattern that we're seeing here. Another patsy set up by the very, quote, authorities in the United States that claim to be protecting us from terrorism are actually creating these patsies and then blaming them to justify it. It's incredible. Pepe, I apologize that we only have this short segment with you. I know we could talk about this for hours. Oh, yeah. I also know that you're a welcome guest back here on Infowars, Nightly News, and the Alex Jones Show, so I know we'll be talking to you more, or Alex will probably. Thank you for joining us tonight, Pepe.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Mike.
Really great to hear from you. All right, take care. All right, that was Pepe Escobar, a reporter for Asia Times newspaper, joining us from, I believe he's joining us from Brazil tonight. Just an extraordinary amount of information coming out about this issue. Now, we're about to go to break, but when we come back on the other side, we're going to be talking about the new hit on vitamins. The mainstream media is trying to convince you that vitamins will kill you. And here to counter that bit of disinfo is Dr. David Brownstein, who's going to break down these studies for us and tell us why that's complete hogwash. Vitamins are actually good for you. Stay with us here on the other side of the break at Infowars Nightly News.
If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars T-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there. Wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens. It's all there. Infowars.com.
Welcome back. This is Infowars Nightly News. I'm your fill-in host this evening, Mike Adams from Natural News, filling in for Alex Jones. We've got a couple of great interviews coming up for you, including an interview with Bryce Shonka from the 10th Amendment Center, commenting on the Occupy Wall Street protests. And also Dr. David Brownstein is going to talk about why vitamins won't kill you, even though the mainstream media says they might. But first, more health news. Jerry Brown, the governor of California, has signed a bill that allows 12-year-old children, if you can believe that, to give consent to being vaccinated with a vaccine that we know is maiming and in some cases killing children. Now, keep in mind that children have to give their consent to visit the zoo or to go to a museum, or even now in California, if you're under 18, you need parental consent to get a tan in a tanning salon. But you don't need consent from your parents to get injected with a vaccine that just might kill you. It's a crucial issue of a state overpowering parents' rights and putting children at risk. And you can expect to hear more about this on Infowars and the Alex Jones Show each day. Next item, we've got Walgreens has been caught bullying customers over flu vaccines. This is what we are hearing at Natural News from our readers who are saying that they feel bullied, they feel intimidated by Walgreens employees who keep asking them, are you going to get a flu shot? Huh? Do you want a flu shot? Did you get your flu shot yet? You got to get a flu shot if you don't want to have a cold. They're even doing this to pregnant women, of course, who should never receive a flu shot. We've even had reports from employees at Walgreens who are saying they're afraid they'll lose their jobs if they don't push vaccines onto people. But you can help speak out against this. Check the story up on Infowars.com right now, which gives you options for filing protests against Walgreens and CVS pharmacies for overly aggressive flu shot bullying. Okay, moving on with other stories. The FDA has decided that if your dog is depressed, he needs some more drugs. That's right. If Fido looks a little sleepy or maybe just a little down, maybe bored, well, your dog needs some antidepressants, and this is now being fulfilled by the drug industry, which says, I guess it's not enough to drug your children. We want to drug your household pets as well. So watch for more pharmaceuticals and mind-altering psychiatric drugs to be made available for your pets in the coming months and years as the FDA continues to conspire with the pharmaceutical industry to drug every living thing in your household. More news. Neuroscience has given us some new findings about so-called unrealistic optimism. Wow, what an interesting term. This comes from the journal Nature Neuroscience, which has published a story entitled, a research article entitled, How Unrealistic Optimism is Maintained in the Face of Reality. Now, this article goes into the idea that many people have a coding error in their brains. They are unable to look at negative information in the future, such as, hey, the stock market might crash, or your government might be plotting a war to enslave you, or there's fluoride in the water and it's killing you and your children, or things like that, that people are unable to actually code that cognitively in their brains, and so they become denialists. Well, we've always wondered, why are people out there unable to see the truth about big issues like, let's say, 9/11 or government tyranny? Well, this study helps to answer that question, providing a scientific basis for the lack of rational coding in the minds of fellow human beings. And this affects about 80% of the population, by the way. Now, coming up in just a minute, we're going to be talking with Dr. David Brownstein. He's a medical doctor and an expert in nutrition. And this concerns a new study that has been published. It's called, the title of it is Dietary Supplements and Mortality Rate in Older Women. This has been published throughout the mainstream media in a highly distorted way. They have taken the data out of this study and used it to create crazy headlines that lie to you. For example, here we have a headline that says, Study links vitamins to higher death rates in women. This is from CTV. The next headline from USA Today says, Study flags risk of daily vitamin use among elderly or among older women. Another headline in Time magazine declares, we've been wasting a ton of money on vitamins and dietary supplements. But is that really true? Or are these just mainstream media distortions about a scientific study that did not reach that conclusion at all? Well, I've got a copy of the study right here in front of me. I've looked at the numbers, and they don't say that. In fact, the numbers say that many nutrients are, in fact, life-saving nutrients, such as vitamin D. But that wasn't reported in the mainstream media at all. So this is why we're going to be joined by David Brownstein in just a minute to give us more details about that. Here's another headline from the Los Angeles Times. Dietary supplements risky for older women, study finds, declares the LA Times. It's absolutely incredible. And now with more analysis on this unprovoked attack on dietary supplements is nutrition expert Dr. David Brownstein, who joins us by Skype. Dr. Brownstein, thank you for joining us here on Infowars Nightly News.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
What's your take on this study and how it has been used by the mainstream media to really attack vitamins?
Mike, this study says absolutely nothing about vitamins. If this study was done in reverse, where vitamins were shown to be effective, no journal would have printed this study because it was so poorly done. It was an observational study of 38,000 women done over about an 18-year period. And what they did was they sent out surveys to the women 3 times over this period and asked them what they were eating and what supplements they were taking. And they drew that data together and then wrote this study up. The problem is an observational study done with surveys is notoriously inaccurate. And if you look through the data in this study, Mike, calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin E, magnesium, selenium, and even multivitamins were shown in the study to be to lower mortality rates in certain areas of the study. So I'm not quite sure where the authors drew their final conclusions from, but the media certainly picked up on only the negative aspects of the study, and I don't think there's much conclusions you can draw from this study at all.
Well, would you say this is another example of the mainstream media cherry-picking the conclusion that they wanted to pull out of it while ignoring the rest? I mean, like you said, it showed lower mortality rates for vitamin D and vitamin C and many others, but they didn't report that.
Absolutely. It's another in a long line of the media cherry-picking a negative study about vitamins. And this study wasn't really negative about vitamins. It was a neutral study on vitamins. And it was very poorly done and shouldn't have been reported in the first place. And it should have been published in this prestigious journal in the first place.
But it's like you said, it seems that any kind of junk science is acceptable to the mainstream media as long as it fits their agenda of saying that vitamins are deadly and that sunlight is deadly, or chemotherapy is good for you, vaccines are good for you, GMOs are good for you, but, oh, God forbid, don't take a multivitamin. It's incredible.
Absolutely. There's a medical industrial complex out there trying to serve its purpose and keep its profits up, and this is the way it works. And again, I think this study is a bunch of nonsense, and I will be writing about this more in the future.
Dr. Brownstein, I want to tell you, by the way, I really admire your work and have followed you for many years, and you are best known for your expertise on the trace mineral iodine. And could you give us your website for one thing, and also what do people need to know about iodine that they're not getting from the mainstream media in the same way that they distorted this news?
Well, my website is drbrownstein.com, drbrownstein.com. And when I lecture about iodine to professionals, I title the lecture, The Most Misunderstood Nutrient. There are more falsity of conclusions about iodine that have been perpetuated by conventional medicine, and they are still perpetuated today. Iodine is one of the most important nutrients. It's one of the most important things I've seen in my practice over the last 20 years. Iodine levels have fallen 50% in the United States over the last 30 years, and we've had a concomitant rise in thyroid problems, breast problems, ovarian problems, and prostate problems. It can all be related to iodine deficiency.
Also, isn't obesity related to iodine deficiency as well?
Absolutely. As thyroid problems start to develop, we see obesity problems. I think iodine is the most commonly misdiagnosis seen in medicine today.
Isn't it also, well, you talk about iodine, but what's your take on vitamin D? Because vitamin D in this particular study was actually shown, although perhaps not significantly, because it was only a three questions over several years, but vitamin D was shown to lower mortality rates. Do you also help teach people about vitamin D and how it can help save lives?
Absolutely, Mike. You know, we've become conditioned in our country to fear the sun, that the sun is killing everybody out there. And over the last 30 years, we've been in the sun less. We use a lot more sunscreen. We have more skin cancer. We have more melanoma. We have more chronic disease. And that can all be related to less sun exposure and less vitamin D production. And again, this is serving the mainstream medical purpose, but it's not serving our patients' purpose.
Well, that seems to be the common thread here, isn't it? That this study, or I should say the reporting of this study, which has been distorted by the mainstream media, it does seem to serve an agenda, or it serves the financial interests of the drug companies. Because the message here, which I think you would agree is false and distorted, is that vitamins will kill you, but pharmaceuticals and vaccines and all these other interventions are healthy for you.
Mike, it's very simple. All you have to do is study biochemistry and try and optimize biochemistry. You do that with proper nutrition, proper diet, maintaining hydration. You don't do that with drugs and chemotherapy agents that poison enzymes and block receptors in the body. It makes common sense and it makes biochemical sense.
But it almost seems like conventional medicine is trying to position their drugs or their vaccines as if they were nutrients. For example, when you're born, they say you're born deficient in a vaccine or deficient in a drug, and they then give that to you, and then they consider you to be whole. I mean, isn't that the role that nutrition should play, not synthetic patented chemicals?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, doctors aren't taught about nutrition. They're not taught about diet. They have no knowledge about this. What doctors are taught is about drugs, how to prescribe them and how to use them. And that's why we're in the problem that we're in right now. And that's why we're in the healthcare mess that we're in right now.
Well, getting back to this particular study entitled Dietary Supplements and Mortality Rate in Older Women, why does the media get away with such gross distortions of what the study actually says? I mean, why isn't the public up in arms over the fact that they're being lied to? Why do people buy this stuff?
Well, the public is getting distorted information because the media is being paid by the big pharmaceutical ads that are in every newspaper, on all the football games and all the TV stations, and that's where the money is. And they know they can't bite the hand that feeds them, and that's why this information's out there. But your newsletter, my writings, your writings are making a difference.